Hi, this is Pat Walker at Mission Winners. Looking at these ETFs tells us areas to potentially focus on, but also areas to avoid. And that helps us. We have a limited amount of time. We have a limited amount of capital. Let's deploy it in the right way, in the most profitable way, in the highest probability way of making money. And strength begets strength. So let's take it from the top here. Here we go. Biotech-related ETF. How's it look? Looks decent. For all of you, this is weekly on the left, daily on the right. And a great tactic is look at price and volume. Example, weekly, down on heavy volume, moving back up on less volume, slight negative. Next one, cloud computing. Wicked weekly here, folks. Wicked. Here's the daily. What does that tell you? Look at the volume. It says, man, that baby lost some leadership. Some damage was done. Good to remember with cloud computing. Telemedicine. Down on heavy volume, comes back on less volume. That's the weekly. Look at the daily. Look at the gaps here. Look at the gap here. Remember that. There's a gap here. Gaps are dangerous. You get on the wrong side of them, like right here, that would hurt. That would hurt. So be aware of it. Let it settle down a little bit. I'm not saying not do it. I'm just saying be careful because it's gappy. Here's the IBD 50, down on heavy volume, flopping around. Note this. This is powerful. This gapped up last week and closed below where it opened. It was met with selling. That's what sets us apart. Not just looking at the bar and say, oh, it's a green bar, it's a good bar. Look at the open and look at the close on each bar. Telltale signs there for you. FV, First Trust. Here we go, hanging in here. But notice what it did. This is tech related. Notice what it did. Gaps up, runs up, closes below where it opens. Closes above last week's close, but still slight negative. And the daily's choppy too. Gold, hanging in there. Dropped down a little bit here, but it's still basing above the rising 50-day. But it did fall on a slight pickup in volume on the daily on Friday. Something to be aware of. Gold miners, look at this. This, right near the lows. Gold miners. Near the midpoint. Junior gold miners. What does that tell us? That's why we do it. It says, well, I guess if I'm going to look at gold miners, it's probably best to look at the junior gold miners, the smaller ones. There you go. Knowledge is power. You got it. Gold, weekly. Connect the dots. Basing nicely. Something to watch. Biotechnology started to pick up again. Right here. Most likely, what is that related to? COVID related. There you go. Flopping around. But it did pick up on the weekly, and that's constructive. Biotechnology. Be careful with individual biotechnology stocks always. North American Technology fell on heavy volume 3 weeks ago. Note this. You can say, this is a green bar, Pat. This is a good bar. This week it gapped up. See the gap? Runs up and closes below where it opened. It was met with selling pressure. Here's the daily. You're not going to see this in many chart books saying, this is what you look for to buy. There you go. U.S. Medical. Medical. What is that? COVID related. Hanging in there. Chopping around a little bit, but it's hanging in. Trend is still up there. Construction, home building and construction. It's acting great. You know, the economy's falling apart. Everything you read said it's the end of the world. Well, guess what? Home building construction is at all-time highs. Connect those dots. That's why we look at the charts and don't get wrapped up in all the news. Growth, S&P growth, dropped here and it's still languishing. Down again this week. Look at that. Here's the daily on Friday. That's some serious selling. IWM, small caps, hanging in there. Just kind of hanging in there. Not a bad week. Small caps. Technology, down again on heavy volume on the weekly. What does this say? Be a little careful with technology. Mid cap, hanging in there, but notice this. Notice how this closed. Closed near its lows of the week. Gapped up and closed near its lows. All right, there's the mid cap, and now here's the small cap. Look at this, closed above where it opened. Closed above last week's close. Closed on a pickup in volume. Small cap versus mid cap. Which is stronger? Small cap. There's the knowledge that sets us apart. There you go. Oil services. Look at this. Do you really need to ponder this too much? No. Once you train your eyes and mind, in about, 1 second, you say, I ain't looking at that. There you go. Online retailing's had a good run. Online shopping. Pretty hard week here, but it's just basing. Perhaps it'll lift back above the 50-day. Software has been a leading group. Got smacked 3 weeks ago on heavy volume. Still basing here. A little bit loose on the daily. Be aware of that. If she could take out the tops of these bars, potential buys. But again, some gaps in here. Be cognizant of it. QLD, NASDAQ 100. Folks, that's some serious selling. Serious selling in here. Look at that. So we've got to watch this and see. And it's below the 50-day. What do we need to see, team? We got to see this animal pushing back above the 50-day. Okay? There you go. QQQ, same thing. First Cloud Computing, hanging in here, right here at the ADME. That's good to see. Here's the 50-day. It's hanging in. Not too bad. In fact, notice this. This did not take out last week's lows. How about that? Or did it? Let me look here. Oh, it did by 3 cents. 3 cents. There's a sign of strength, folks, in a wicked market. Silver hanging in there. Good to remember. Steel. Look at that. See the theme with the metals? Look at this steel. Why do we need steel? Oh, that's right. It's for kids' toys, the erector sets and stuff. No, it's to build stuff. Build stuff. There you go. Building. SMH, hanging in there. Did not take out last week's lows. Did gap up and close down below the open for the week. Some selling pressure there. That's some serious volume there. What does that tell you? Just looking at the weekly, what does it tell you? Looking at the daily, what does it say? Well, semiconductors, you're still okay, but got to be a little careful. There you go. Knowledge is power, and now you have some. Spiders, reversed down on volume, still languishing. Closed weak on Friday. Needs to get back above the 50-day. SSO, similar situation. Solar, leading group. Look at this. Hanging in there. There you go. TNA, another small cap. Leveraged small cap ETF. What does it tell you? Be careful with them. Aerospace and defense. Is there anything here? No, there's not. Biotechnology, another biotech ETF. So now you've just built a case. Looking at what we've looked at, what is an industry group that you might consider looking at? Biotechnology. Warning, always be careful with individual biotechnology stocks. Know what you're doing with them. And just be aware, one news story, they can run up. One news story, they can explode. Be cognizant of that. Home builders, look at that. We talk about this every week. Hanging in there. Look at that trend. Home builders. And again, that's why I don't look at the news. Materials. How do you build things? You need materials. Look at that. Sweet. Communications lost a little bit of leadership here, but it's still fairly strong. That's pretty ugly reversal bar on the weekly. Communications. Energy. Energy. What does this tell you? In about 1/2 of a second, it says, I ain't looking at the energy stocks, and you move on. Financial, just going sideways, but it's been a lagging group. There's nothing really to do with it. Move on. Industrials, oh, look at that. Industrials. Everything's falling apart. Industrials slowly grinding up. I'm not saying buy it, but I am saying there's a telltale sign that there's areas under the radar that are doing okay. Technology, ugly reversal week, okay? We want to see this straighten out. I don't want to see this dropping too far because what are we losing then? We're losing the technology sector, which has been strong. Well, I mean, it's in the chart, folks. I mean, look at that. 4 weeks ago. That's sweet. There you go. Consumer staples, weekly, hanging in. Lost a little bit of leadership, still hanging in there. Consumer staples. Utilities. Folks, there's nothing here. It's utilities. Move on. Healthcare. What do you think this is related to? COVID. There you go. Healthcare, like biotechnology. Consumer discretionary. Still acting fine. But notice this. A little bit of selling pressure coming into it now, isn't there? Something to be aware of. Metals and mining. Look at that. Okay, now, let's think this through. We see the gold sector doing well, the metals doing well, and look at metals and mining. Now you know where to focus, possibly. Narrows the list down. Retailing, still trending up. A little bit of selling here, still trending up. True? Above the rising bid. Retail. Yeah, consumer stuff. Software. Been a real leader. Got a little loose here. And look at the daily. Serious selling. This needs to stabilize. Got to watch that. And back to the top. Anyway, there is a video recap of the action of the major index ETFs. By so doing this, it tells us areas to focus on and also areas to steer clear of. There you go, folks. That's power, right?
Thank you for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit like. Maybe hit that subscribe button. We come up with new content nearly every day. Also, check out the videos on the right. YouTube recommends the one on the top, and the bottom one is something we thought you might enjoy. See you next time.